On this special edition of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, I'm joined by defensive lineman CJ Fite.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications wherever you're getting your podcast. Stay in touch with the show by following me on Twitter at RichieBrads36 and the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. The playoffs are done, and the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in. Today we are joined by Sun Devils defensive lineman CJ Fite. CJ, appreciate you stopping by, and this is your second time joining us on the podcast, so I think it's fair to say that you are a friend of the podcast at this point.
Yes, I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Got lots of fun stuff to talk about. We'll start with your first year at ASU. We'll start nice and broad. How do you think year one went for you?
I think year one's a good starting point. It's a lot to build on for sure, but I'm glad I have a baseline and have a foundation where I can build upon and just keep getting better, keep improving.
What are some of those foundations that you were able to establish yourself in your first year?
I'd say confidence. Confidence is like the biggest thing that I was been able to build after playing that first year. After the first year, after getting the experience and the time and the games under your belt, you feel more obviously confident in your abilities and just being out there. You know, because it's a whole different ball game just going out there and playing college ball with the speed of the game, the size, just things like that. So being able to wrap your mind around playing at that level, especially because you like it's what you grew up wanting to do. So it's like you get past I'm living the dream, I'm living this is all surreal. Like you can still take it in like in years to come, like you appreciate like where you are, but it's not as much of a starstruck moment. You more of take it in. Okay, now let's keep it pushing and let's get the game.
Now there was, I don't know if I would call it pressure on you, but there was a lot of injuries that mounted up for the Sun Devils last year. The defensive line was no different, and you were plugged into a starting role very early on in your career at Arizona State. What was that like for you, knowing that instead of maybe taking some time behind the scenes to get your feet underneath you to being thrusted into a starting position for just about the whole year?
I'd say it's a good experience. I mean, you learn the most when you're in the time of adversity. So just being thrown in the fire, I feel like I learned a lot just going through that season. You know, I wasn't really expecting to be thrown in the fire. So it was kind of it's like it was good to just have that change of adversity at me and just doing stuff that I wasn't expecting myself to do. It's once again just builds your confidence, showing that you can do it no matter what comes at you and when it comes and when you expect it to and when it doesn't. You know, it's just a thing of being ready when your number's called.
In the first year for ASU under Coach Brian Ward, defensive coordinator, there was a jump. If you look at the 2022 defense for the Sun Devils, it was a unit that really was not able to play the best football. They were beaten for lots of yards and points and everything. You look at the way that the defense played this year, there was a significant improvement from the performance, from actual numbers to the way that they played on the field. How do you think everything kind of gelled under Coach Ward?
I think it gels great. He's a great coach. And he's big on the details. He tells us do your 111 all the time. So it's pretty much just telling us to do our job. Everybody has a job, so you just do your job and everything's going to work. Because everything ties together on the defense. If one man messes up, it kind of throws everybody else off. So just learning from him and having the team, the defense, just work together under him. It's big. He's teaching us a lot. We learned so much from him.
There were some veterans that you were able to kind of get a grasp under last year. Anthony Cooper, Deshaun Mallory were a couple of those guys. How did they impact you to be able to take that first year in stride and just what am I trying to say, to help that development for you?
It's, they taught me a lot. Like Coop's still here, so I'm still learning from him. But with him and Deshaun in the same room, and they're just bouncing ideas, well, not ideas, but like knowledge off each other and like throwing it at me. It helped a lot, especially because like we'll be in a meeting after the meeting. It'll just be us three in there, and we're just talking about football and like things will come with football, and like they're just dropping nuggets off to me. So just being able to learn from those guys, I learned a lot from that. Even like not even just playing, just obviously like I said after the meetings, just learning like little things of football, like outside of football, how to take care of things like that. Because it's not just the football part that leads to successful. It's like it's a lot that goes into it, like your everyday life. So learning, they taught me so much, just how to play football, how to live a daily life to be successful in football.
Focusing on you, where do you think you had the most success for yourself in your first year?
I'd say in the aspect of my teammates, I feel like after that year, the team respected me more. I just gained a level of respect that most people at my age usually don't get. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've gotten from that last season. It's just when you get respect from um, teammates or just respect people in general, you just feel better about what you've done and what things you've accomplished, and it lets you take that step in the leadership role. So it just helps in that way, obviously.
What are some of the aspects of the way you played that you think could stand for the most improvement after year one?
Oh, pass rush for sure. I mean, I've been saying it. I was saying it last year. My pass rush wasn't very good. Even coming out of high school, I mean, teams we played either ran in the red the ball or they did quick passes, so there wasn't much time to go over pass rush. It's more of a run. We're just working on run the whole time, and I feel like that carried over. And you can tell the difference that I put more emphasis on the run than I did pass, and it showed for sure. So this offseason, I've been for sure working on pass. Just trying to I guess get a bag. Like people say you're trying to get a bigger bag. I'm just trying to get a bag. So I'm just trying to like start somewhere and start so I could actually just slowly progress into a pass rusher. So I'm just not a one-sided defensive player.
I think that's a great way to transition us to the next part of the podcast where we talk about everything that you have been working on in the offseason. We'll get to that in just a moment. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Passion, drive, patience, the winning formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And the eBay Guaranteed Fit means that your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because of the eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and drive home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Wherever you get those podcasts, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. And a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Continuing our conversation with Sun Devils defensive lineman CJ Fite. We transitioned to the offseason, and everything that you've been working on. We'll start with spring ball. How do you think spring practices ended up going for you?
I feel like it was very beneficial. Uh, I've learned so much under Coach Reynolds. I've been improving in not even just the pass, just the run also, and just learning how to be a football player. So being in the spring, going through a whole spring with him and going on the whole spring with a different role also. I was asked to step up to be more of a leadership role. So now I've been working, going back to the other question I had worked on, I've been working on the pass and also the leadership. Um, I mean, I've always kind of been in the leadership role, but just I haven't always been that guy to be as vocal. So I'm just trying to expand on my leadership role and just my pass rush and my just things that come with being a football player.
I like that you brought up Coach Reynolds, and that was one of the things that I was curious about is how has it been, that transition from Coach Reynolds or the transition from Coach Amy to Coach Reynolds? What's that kind of looked like, not just for you, but for the defensive line as a group?
I mean, as a group, everything's really about the same. Nothing different about what we run. I mean, obviously, Coach Amy taught us everything that Coach Reynolds teaching us because we're under the same defense. Obviously, like we're in the Coach Ward defense, so it's really the same things. It's just how it's interpreted. It's just it's just he has so many nuggets and so many little things that it's just like a little cherry on top. Like you already know what you're doing here, but here's how you can make it better. So it's just like it's just finding things that come with the game that it helps.
What are some of the things that you specifically have been working on with Coach Reynolds? I imagine there's probably been some conversations between you and him about areas that you want to improve on. I know that you mentioned uh, developing your pass rush a little bit more. What are some of the things that Coach Reynolds has maybe challenged you to really focus on?
I really is more. He says a lot about just getting off and getting like running your line. At certain times, like you go and you go out of your way to trying to mess with the guards so you can go. But he really just like telling me that you're really rushing the passer and not to do it in front of you. So it's just it's like the little things I was talking about. It's not too much. It's not really too much. Like it's really simple. It's hard to explain because it's not as complicated as I thought it was until he broke it down. It's just run your line, don't let them touch you, or rush the passer. It's just things like that. It's just simplified for sure.
How does it work with Coach Ward? Like, is there going to be changes in the way that you guys maybe line up or play? I know you said that it's been a good transition and nothing is too different. Is there any differences in the way that Coach Ward might be approaching the defense with a new positional coach?
No, it's just everything we went through this spring and the fall. It's been the same we went through this spring. So I mean, there's like smaller, like really small things that you really don't see too much, but those are the things that like when you get those extra hours in. Those are the things you find out. It's not the ones you find where you're in a defensive team meeting room and things like that, where you don't have as much time. So it's more of if you want to find out, you would. You'll be able to, but it's just the same system, same scheme. So we're just trying to perfect it and get better at it.
There's going to be some veterans along the defensive line again. Jeff Clark coming from Louisville, Jacob Rich Kongaika coming from Arizona. Thankfully, he came to the good guys this time around. Jacob Wadley coming in from Cincinnati. What's kind of the feeling with the defensive line with those guys that are coming in, being able to work with some veterans again that you got to work with last year?
I mean, it's good when you get people who are seasoned. It's just getting those vets to come in. Like you don't have to worry about as much. You could like as for coach, he can teach everybody the stuff, and he can trust that everybody's gonna work on it on their own for like as extra, or he doesn't have to pound it in the head as much because everybody like the room knows how to study. The room knows how to retain the things he's telling us, write down notes, the things like that. So it makes it easier for him to coach, and it makes it easier for us to play with because the guy next to you knows what he's doing. You can trust him. So it's good to have vets, and even young guys that know what they're doing. I treat young dudes that know what they're doing. I treat them like vets. Like they get the same level of respect. So it's really it's just like knowing what you're doing and know how to train, how to play football, how to study, and things like that.
What have you guys collectively been working on? Not so much with Coach Reynolds, but behind the scenes, you and some of the other guys along the defensive line. What are some of the things that you guys have been working on together?
We're doing a lot of perfecting and getting everybody on the same page. With the new guys coming in, you just got people on different levels of where they are. So it's kind of trying to get everybody on the same playing field, same level of knowledge of the defense. So it's really a lot of getting the players acclimated and getting everybody ready to go play in August.
What are some of the things you've been working on? Is there a lot of time in the film room? Is there a lot of time maybe doing some weight training or spending time in the gym? What does your off season look like for yourself?
For me, it's a lot of I say it changes as you get closer to the season. When I first, like in the winter training, it was more of trying to get stronger, slim down, and just become more explosive. Things that you usually do in the beginning of the running training phase to get ready for the season. Now it's more of when the spring ball started, it was work on the pass rush, just fine tune some of my techniques, some plays that I might not have known as well last year. So it's just more of fine tuning the football area of it. And now it's more as we get closer to the season, it's more of it was also in the spring, but it was more of like I said, taking on that leadership role and just trying to get all the guys, everybody on the same page, so we can all go out there and everybody knows what they're doing. So it's like a lot of extra time in the film room. So you go watch the film, do some walkthroughs, just things like that. Going in and getting some treatment, cold tub treatment, making sure our body's right. So it's a lot of prehab and just mental stuff.
All right. We'll go ahead and transition to the last part of the podcast as we take a look at your goals for the upcoming season and the defensive lines goals as a group. We'll talk about that in just a moment. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I love sports, and I love them so much that I never really want them to stop, but, the playoffs are done, and we're getting fewer and fewer games. The sports just aren't sporting like I want them to, but FanDuel will let me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and make the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. One more time, wherever you get your podcast, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every day, making us your first listen of the day. Talking again with CJ Fite as we wrap up this edition of the pod. Let's talk about 2024. And we'll start with the biggest thing is, what are your expectations for yourself?
It's just to really improve on what I did last year. Obviously, I want to be a better teammate, better player. Just being able to improve and not stall out from how I did last year. That's one thing. Like I would never never wants to happen is I just never improve. If you stay still, there's no such thing as I guess there's no such thing as staying still. Either you're getting worse or you're getting better. So I just want to stay on the trend and make sure I'm just improving each and every year.
What are some of the things that you have expectations for when it comes to the defensive line unit as a whole? Where are you looking for improvement or anything else from the group?
Well, I just want the D line just to be dominant. the whole D line is dominant, and I mean, you just really nobody's going to play you. You get a D line that can dominate a game. I mean, it's really not much the other team can do. So we can shut down the game just with us up front. So being able to do that, shut a game down, and just to take over a game at the D line, that's really the plan for us this next year, just to be able to dominate and take over.
You've mentioned a few times that you're kind of taking on a leadership role for yourself. What has that been like for you? I mean, going into your true sophomore year and already inheriting a role like that. I mean, first of all, props to you for being able to inherit something like that. But what's that been like to become a veteran and a leader for a room this quickly in your career?
I mean, it's a blessing. It's different. It's been different for sure. But I mean, I wouldn't shy away from it. It's needed. I think everybody needs it, and I feel like everybody can be a leader. You don't really have to have a label at the team. You don't have to be on a council or a group. Like if you want to lead, you can lead from wherever you are. So I feel like I probably would have tried to step up this year anyway, even if I wasn't asked to. But because I mean that's what comes with being a football player. You know, you're gonna be asked to lead sometimes. So I'm just trying to get better at that. Just become more vocal and just bring people along.
Are there any specific goals in terms of like statistics you might be looking for? Is there like a sack total you've got on your mind? Is there a turnover total? Is there anything that you might like have on a post-it note and you just have it above your locker and it's right, this is what I want to do in 2024?
Well, when we had when Coach Reynolds first came, we had wrote all this stuff down. So I don't know if I want to share it right now. I just
want
to keep it hidden right now. Yeah, I just want to keep it in. But you know, I've always been told don't share your dreams or goals with everybody. So I'm just gonna keep it in for right now, but still just throw it out there, throw it in the air. So just pray about it, just give it to God. So I'm just gonna keep doing what I can do, improving on the in the back end, improving behind the scenes, so I can meet those goals. And maybe after I reach them, then I can come back on and tell you what they were.
There you go. I like that mentality, is keeping that to yourself and having that own personal goal. I think that's really unique and something that we don't really see too often. So props to you for that. That's exciting for yourself. Is there any predictions that you want to throw out there? Maybe more broad predictions that you want to see from the team as a whole, not just you, not just the defensive line, but for Arizona State Sun Devils football in 2024. Is there anything that you want to put out into the universe, kind of thing?
You know, I just feel like we're going to shock the world, shock the Big 12. So that's the biggest thing. Nobody expects us to do anything. I mean, you see all these things, and we're on the bottom of every poll. Like we don't really care about that. Like they make those polls every year. Like they change. Like there's no kind of facts behind them. They just go off of kind of the team's history, the team from last year. So I mean, we're just going to shock people. That's the biggest thing. The team's been working, and the team's mindset's different. So it was just going to shock people. That's all I got.
I love it. Before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to promote for yourself, or anything you want to shout out or promote before we wrap this thing up?
You know, go Devils. You know, you can't go wrong saying go Devils. You always shout out Sun Devils, Sun Devil football, Sun Angel NIL. Just people, you know, you hear that a lot. That helps a lot just to get the community involved, have the community behind the team really helps. So yeah, let's go Devils.
I definitely think that we're going to be in for a year that's going to see that Valley activated a little bit more. CJ, I really appreciate you hopping on with me. We'll be keeping very close eye on you the way that we have been pretty much since you got on here for the first time. But CJ, appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate you.
And I appreciate you guys for tuning in again and making us your first listen of the day. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications wherever you're getting your shows. You can stay in touch by following me on Twitter at RichieBrats36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. I will see you guys next time. And until then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.